Today is October 3rd, 6:52 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday. My name is Mr. V, aka Jeffrey V, and this is the Board State. Feeling a little bit too energetic with this super powerful Egyptian coffee I'm having. I am joined with, who are you, sir?
Yahoo! Jack. And I'm coming from playing
Yo,
all
bien.
night. Just a casual game called Squadrons, Star Wars.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I think the volume just got really high on your squadron. If you want to dial that down just a little bit.
Okay,
or,
I'll
or
turn
I'm,
it up
I'm
now.
or I'm gonna start getting goosebumps because I too was playing that game for some time. Not as much as Jack. I split. Actually, I started watching this show called Utopia. I don't know if you heard about this on Prime. It's pretty cool. It's like this conspiracy comic series. It's about this comic that is foretelling the I guess the destruction of kind of the apocalypse, and this mad creator wrote it, and his daughter, which is in the comic, is also a character in real life. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
You know what I noticed a lot recently with Amazon
Yep.
is the fact that they are going into a lot of those meta shows. Like for
Mm.
example, that one of the first ones that they made was Man in the High Castle. And that was like about this author trying to make gain newsreels and stuff, but in actuality he is also the author who made the books and stuff like that. So
Man
yeah.
in the Hand. That's a Philip K. Dick masterpiece. I love Philip K. Dick. You should. Okay, we're gonna talk about this later. You should listen to some Philip K. Dick audiobooks. But that's not what our show is. Sorry for that
We're
tangent.
not the alternate history.
Yeah, Man in High Castle is good. We are a weekly show where we talk about news articles that have to deal and relate directly to independent game design for social social good and the betterment of humanity. All
Yeah,
right. Okay. Whoa. Excuse
sorry,
me.
sorry.
Okay. So we pick 5 articles out of the week. Again, these articles have to do directly with independent design and how gaming is just really impacting humanity for the betterment of us all. The first article is going to be from nerdsandbeyond.com. Pretty cool name. And this is the Princess Bride adventure book comes to Target in October. Jack, what are your thoughts on this?
Honestly, it's just showcasing how gaming is becoming more and more expansive, and now games like that is not really that well known. For example, like the Princess Bride that has like a cult following is now getting more attention to a point where now they're going on retail stores and actually becoming more and more popular because of
Mm-hmm.
that. We're gonna see this thing happening a lot, especially with Target, because they have like whole statistics and a whole department into ball gaming because they recognize that that's going to be one of the key things of gaming in the future. Not just about video games, but ball gaming and how it could not just in combination boost up with their sales, but also allow them to get more people into their stores. So it's gonna help both sides, and because of that, I really think we're gonna see more of like these niche products coming into Target, like how we see already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yet another Yet another cool Target exclusive release. So this is going to be released tomorrow. 24 bucks, so that's a very affordable price for what you're going to get. Yeah, and like you said, Princess Bride has a very large cult following. I think it's a safe bet for Ravensburger to make a game on. I think people are going to immediately just pick it up just on the name of the game alone. But also, I want to mention that this is a adventure book game. So looking at the images for the game, I mean, it kind of looks like a board game, but I think maybe it's kind of like there was this game Mice and Mystics where you played in a book and you would turn the pages, right?
Hmm?
I think it looks like that's similarly what's going to happen here. Um, maybe, I don't know. Well, on the images that I'm looking at from the site, they have the same background, so I don't know if that changes. Maybe, but regardless, it's a 1 to 4 player game, so you can play it solo, and I love
Mm-hmm.
solo games. I love solo games. By the way, can't wait to play this. This was the when I went to BGG Con last year. This was the game that I couldn't play because it was constantly checked out of the library. They had a German version, but yeah, super awesome game, and not the Princess Bride. Sorry.
Something else.
Poland strong. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, and Wonderforge. So the component's going to be fantastic. But yeah, it's an adventure book. So I think there's definitely a place for the type of the new choose your own adventure fusion type of games where you're playing out of a book or playing into a book. I'm excited to try this one out. All right. Okay, next one, moving in from the analog to the digital realm. This is from happymag.tv and how Among Us became the most popular indie game of 2020. Jack, what is this phenomenon called Among Us? What is it about? How is it taking the indie scene by a storm?
Okay, first off, if you haven't heard about Among Us is about Poland and how it's so strong and how you really
Yeah.
need to Poland.
Yep.
Anyways,
Yep.
just joking about that, but Among Us is really about a detective game for your family and your friends, and also Mafia. Mafia is this game where there's two people who's in the mafia and everybody else is trying to, yes,
I'm
student.
so I am so sorry to interrupt you, sir. Can I just make a possible correction? I don't know if you meant to say this. Is it a detective or deduction game?
Deduction.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No. I apologize for interrupting because I just wanted to make sure that I heard that correctly. So I apologize for the correction. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, oh, kind of cool.
Well,
and then you said like the mafia
it's
game.
it's also both. It's a
Okay.
detective game and a deduction game. So like
Gotcha.
Mafia,
Sorry for interrupting. Yep.
there's two people who's going to be called the imposter. Their job is basically simple: kill everyone on the ship. Everybody else's job is to complete their task and win the game through that way or vote out the imposters. And they do that by figuring out who did what was their task, are they completing their task, how many sabotages are there, where was the dead bodies. And often if you watch clips of Among Us, you often have almost like a Ace in Tony like style of gameplay where you have one player literally saying, "No, I didn't kill him. It was Orange," but Orange is over there. Wait, how do you know that? Are you sure about that? And it's like objection, overruled, and stuff like that. And it
I
really
love it.
is just combined with all of the stories that you could get because there's only 3 maps really, but the tasks you have to do on these maps are different, and also the gameplay mechanics on these maps are different. So on the space station, for example, everybody hates to go to electrical by themselves because the whole joke is you die in electrical if you go there by yourself. And so, and often these jokes that you see online is also what actually happens in game. So it's one of those things where that is also a combination factor because a lot of the fandom a lot of the things that the fandom likes and makes fun of is actually what happens in game. It's not like how we saw in the fandom for like Star Wars, and we saw that on Battlefront 2, all of the jokes was, oh, EA, I have to give you $2,000 just to be a playable character. So
Jab, jab.
it really is showcasing that whole idea of basically fandom is also creating the story of this game, because like if you scroll down a little bit lower on this article, there is called Daddy is always watching. The reason why it does that, the tweet is so funny but that's so sad, is that a lot of people could get kids in this game. And so you have the usernames called Dad of Two or Mom of Two, but when they die, the kids stay there wherever they die. So like if you complete the task, and you may be able, I'm not too sure about what happens to the kid, but it just stays there, and it's like, oh shit. So yeah, it's one of those things where there's a lot of in-house jokes, and once you just watch one game of it, you will most likely be like, okay, this looks super fun, I want to pay it. Another one last reason is that it's $6 right now, so it's very cheap and affordable. On mobile, it's free to download. And so a lot of the options you have, well, right now it's $7, $7.50 on Steam, but it really is affordable for everyone to get into and have fun. And it really encouraged the use of other media like Discord servers. But yeah.
Yeah, so the game came out in 2018, is that right?
Yeah, 2018, this game came out.
Yeah, so think about that. And then, so has it only really hit popularity within the last year, Jack?
It actually hit popularity, which is funny, right after Fall Guys release.
So really quick, in like just a couple of sentences, what's Fall Guys?
Fall Guys was another great indie success of this year, and these two games are probably the greatest games coming out of this year until the holy grail that is called Cyberpunk comes out. But Fall Guys was just like 100 players going through obstacles and mini games to figure out who is the best. And that allowed like huge Discord communities to play together and in these like large scale events, but also being competitive enough and for in a way where esports could actually have and it's going to run some competitions in there.
That's fascinating. So really, there's so is it safe to say that what made like Fall Guys and Among Us really popular was also this kind of streaming, Discord, chatting, online community?
Absolutely. I tell you this, if Among Us didn't target those Discord servers and Fall Guys too, they wouldn't have been successful. They would have still been successful because quarantine and stuff like that, but they won't have gained the success and notoriety like how they have now.
Got it. Wow. Okay. Well, I don't really have much to add on that other than they are taking some board game related kind of concepts, right, and putting it into a video game space, like that social deduction kind of mafia thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, super cool. Yeah, please.
One last thing. And this also could be just thing the devs did because it was only like 3 guys that did Among Us.
But is that right?
Yeah, of course. And then
love it. I love it.
Fall Guys had the similar art style. I'm just noticing a lot of these games that gotten popular in indie, you could draw offhand.
Got Got it.
Like
Got it. Got it.
the now Among Us, Fall Guys,
Yeah.
Cuphead. Yeah.
Well, that's something I was going to comment on is you don't have to really get hung up on the high end Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, Rogue Squadron, AAA style of art to have like a game that has a huge impact, because you can kind of see, like you were saying, like this looks like just somebody grabbed, like, what is it, Windows Paint or whatever.
Mhm.
Almost. I'm not saying like the art is crap, but it's very simple and it works, right? It's very, very simple, and
Yep.
it has its own style. Yeah, I'm so happy for, what are they called? InSloth? What is the name of the company? Inner Sloth. What an awesome name for a company as well. Inner Sloth and their success in this game, making it free on mobile. How brilliant is that, right? And then just
Mhm.
having the 750 charge for Steam or PC play. Yeah, they deserve all this success.
And one last thing to comment about this, they also have been like gain more praise because they also announced like all of the updates that they have planned for the sequel is going to instead be diverted into Among Us due to how popular it is, and also,
Wow.
and granted they're only three guys, so we need to give them credit, and the internet has really been like, okay, this is what we really need you guys to focus on. So you don't really see this whole, oh, why this bug is still in the game. It's just like, oh no, we'll help you. Here's some things that we suggest.
All right, thank you for that, Jack. So that is by HappyBag.tv, and how Among Us became the most popular indie game in 2020. Amen. All right. Next article is by WREG.com, which is the Memphis News Channel, which is the Memphis News Channel site, and this is board game aims to teach people how to interact with police. Whoa, what a controversial subject. Jack, what are your thoughts on this board game?
Okay, I want this is going to be an audience question. Which one of these articles are for me? There's another article that's going to be here that's gonna sound like me. You debate in the comments below. But um this is really talking about how gaming is evolving once more into pushing not just ideals but safety ideals. Police can be used for good. However, a lot of the a lot of the things that they have done recently in the mainland, not over here, have been not in a positive light and has really showcased a need for several things. But by making a board game talking about how kids should act around police and stuff like that, really should also understand that until we could make a good understanding of what is going on, not just from one side versus the other side, but also like all sides, this is probably one of the best teaching methods for safety. Because right now, like all you see right now is either police doing bad or rioting because the police did bad, you know? So it really is games like this trying to teach people and have that conversation, being that middle ground, will actually allow us to come back and be like, okay, so now all of that's done. How do we move on from here? You know? So I really think games like this is you're gonna see more of. Not trying to make a political statement, but trying to teach their players how to not react, but understand.
Yeah. Whew. So this game, Trials in Triumph, was created to teach, I guess specifically, I mean, it could be any race or demographic, but I think specifically for this, young African American boys how to interact with police officers in a safe setting as a gaming simulation. Holy crap! Wow. I mean, that is just so cool. The game has, I think, 54 scenarios. Yeah, that can take place during the game. The idea is to practice police interactions in a safe setting. So, I mean, you've covered it all. I really don't know what else to add to what you said, but yeah, this is just another article to bookmark in your arsenals. Why games matter is why I really put this in here. How cool is this, man?
It really is, but I also have to say this. You're going to see more articles like this in the future. And this ain't going to be the last. It's probably going to be, you're going to see more in the coming weeks, especially as more political topics are becoming more and more frequent.
Yep.
So
yep.
You might have some good news.
I think we should bring this. I think this should be one of the articles we bring up in our Schools of the Future talk. I think this is a good one.
Again, we should have that conversation later on today.
All right.
Oh no, COVID. I mean, he is going to someone else's island.
Okay. Aim to teach people how to interact with police by reg.com. Okay, transitioning to our next article. This one is by Forbes.com, another Forbes gaming article. Interesting. 3 areas of the booming gaming industry ripe for entrepreneurial opportunities. Whoa. Jack, what are your thoughts on this article?
Okay. This is showcasing also new ideas, not just for game developers to go and put themselves in the ring, but also players and investors, also guys outside of gaming, to look at and be like, okay, I may be interested in that. And these 3 concepts, from a game developer perspective, can lead to many scenarios and many variables, some of which are bad, some of which are awesome, but it's always up to whoever is reading it. And I highly recommend everyone, no matter where they come from, to read this article so that way they could understand like new ideas that they may have or may interest them in the future. Because, for example, fantasy and betting for esports. A lot of people bet on regular sports like football, soccer, or football in European theaters, rugby, and so on and so forth. But what not that many people is known for is betting on esports, which I found it funny because at this point, esports is the new sports. No offense to sports, and I love NFL and UFC, but that's the case nowadays. And for this concept of like betting on esports, I know like some Discord communities do that for like fun and stuff, but the potential value is there, and you will have that enticing market like you had in regular sports. But keep in mind, it is still betting. So wherever you push out, be willing to lose it. So that's how I see those stuff. And that may not be the cup of tea. Maybe it's blockchain and gaming, and how they could represent cryptocurrency in the future. We already see that with Steam and Microsoft, and how they have their own little reward points to use for actual in-game purchases and take regular games. That one is more targeted for game developers and not really for other people to look at, and how it could be applied to not just in gaming, in digital versions, but also in their gaming markets and stuff. The last one I do have to say is for everybody to take note, and that is AR gaming or augmented reality gaming, because we're going to see more of this. Pokemon Go obviously paved the way for this whole revolutionary gaming of you walking around and you're doing stuff. We saw this apply with ARGs. I believe we're gonna see more AR gaming take an ARG route because of how much possibilities and how much depth mysteries can finally be when you're dealing with an AR gaming concept and not just imposing and codes. That adds another level of depth. And you will see other genres coming from AR gaming. And it finally ends with paying to win. I personally think the gaming industry sees this and will back off. But other than that, that's basically what this article is. It's really talking about what they thinking new ideas the gaming industry could use.
All right. Okay. Wow, what an article, man. There's so much here to unpack and extract. First thing is, it may have, and this is right from the article. I can't quite see that. It may come as no surprise that while many industries have suffered this year, the already growing gaming industry has boomed. From the classic ones like Mahjong and Freecell to mobile games or virtual ones, the world is playing more games than ever before. All told, it is an industry that's expected to bring 159.3 billion this year alone, which is a 9.3 improvement. Whoa. The other thing is esports. So esports betting, I didn't even think about that. That thought's never crossed my mind. Like, of course, esports bidding. And this is something where, if I'm hopeful that it'll catch on as it has in other countries, as it is in the US. We'll see. But this is one of the things is if it's not going to catch on in the US, then esports is just gonna, then the other countries are just gonna leave us in the dust. I mean, there's just so much monetary opportunities in the esports realm, even as a spectator. Yeah, the whole esporting, like having like sketchy sites that you can like bid on esports players. I think I'm sure that probably exists now, right, Jack?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it does. But yeah, so esports is something that is continuing to grow, and I think as you see video games becoming more and more popular and more adopted, you're going to see esports growing alongside that. As it begins to normalize and doesn't just become like a niche weird thing that everybody begins to adopt it, especially as your generation gets older, that we're going to see that it's just, it's commonplace. Of course, blockchaining, we've spoken about this before on the cast. AR, absolutely. I think we're still, well, Apple's been, tinkering on it, and not just Apple. There's a lot of other companies, like they mentioned, what's the really popular one? Magic Leap has been tinkering with AR. I've made an AR game a while ago at Nanakuli High School as well, which is pretty cool. But I think we're still a few years away from critical mass for, I think, AR gaming to really hit. We need an Among Us version to really kind of hit it. But anyway, yeah, man, this is, again, Forbes is highlighting this, so this has to do with making money, really, right? Or business opportunities or entrepreneur opportunities. Wow, betting for esports, dude. We gotta talk after this. I'm kidding. All right. 3 areas of the booming gaming industry ripe for entrepreneurial opportunities by Forbes.com. All right. The next article.
Pull in strong, guys. Pull in strong.
Just gonna read this book
Wow,
while have something to
you're
do
buying out
while
the
you're
book for this one.
while you're talking about this article. I'm just gonna hang out here for a little bit. All right. This video game company has a surprising obsession with World War II military history by military.com, who is now installing spyware in my computer to watch and to monitor my nefarious activities. Jack, what is this article about?
So it's actually about two things. Firstly, it's about wargaming. And wargaming is a game development company that focus on making historical games and not just making sure they play accurately, but also letting the players know the history of it. So, for example, War of Tanks, their game focus mostly around the tanks of World War II and to the modern age, but they go into the specifics of the details. Why did your shot deflect if it shoots at a 46-degree angle, if not was a 25-degree angle at a particular spot in the armor because of how they made the most of the products there, or why did Americans use only a 75 millimeter gun and not really a 250 millimeter gun in World War II? They really allows their players to understand history, and by doing so become greater and more good at the game. Use actual understanding of terrain, and a lot of the maps designs are from biofields that they just replicated onto the game. And so because of that, if you know history, you will have an edge. You will always have an edge over someone who doesn't but play the game often. Then the second part of this article is going into one of the devs who really is in tune with history and is just trying to start a podcast. And this is what we're gonna see a lot of in gaming, not just game developers getting out of gaming, but game developers doing other things that is associated to where they came from in gaming. And for him, it was starting off a podcast retelling about World War II because he found, and I love to listen to history, but it can always be bland. It's not very interesting. Those that makes it interesting often have a lot more of a following than those that doesn't. And I found it very sad because a lot of those that doesn't also are historians that we are trying to understand and rewrite history if we have gotten it wrong, and we have several times. But by doing this, it really allows those historians to come on this podcast and not just for our audience, but also get their whole evidence and all of those ideas out there so that the world could understand it a bit more clearly. But yeah.
Just want to talk about the hero image here, which the caption is, Marines display the American flag for a photograph shortly after securing a beachhead during the liberation of Guam. The liberation of Guam.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jack. Thank you. Military.com, video game company, has a surprising obsession with World War II military history. Though, all joking aside, the point I want to make with this is when you are, because these companies are specifically targeting a specific type of audience, right? Not just war guys, but war historian dudes, right? Mm-hmm. So if they've got 6 buttons, there's better be 6 buttons on that guy, right? Like, so that right. The amount of detail and accuracy that you have to put into your game, it's got to be point on or everything falls apart. which is why we like to avoid. Like we kind of like with our games, we put a we have an alignment with like our Hawaiian history, but we take certain liberties. So that way, if we call the plant the wrong plant, you know, we don't get a spear thrown at us, so to say. But right, you know, so it's but when you're going into a historical type of game or simulations, but tabletop is the exact same thing. They have all these simulation type of games, even and military games as well, right? You got to be dead on.
That's. I was actually wondering, do you see the tabletop influence? Because when I was playing, for example, I was gaining a lot of the Warhammer World War II vibes.
Oh yeah, totally. Like those old school armchair adventurer 1970s war simulation guys, right? With the 300-page game manual with like graphs and charts and missile ballistics. You know, like the hardcore war history tabletop guys. Oh yeah, exactly. Which I love. I love talking to those guys too, man. They're just those are the, and I mean this in the most positive light, but those are real nerds, not this Big Bang Theory cute living in an apartment, you know, physicist, you know, whatever bull crap. These are the real nerds. Like you're not supposed to like laugh at things that nerds say. Like it's been kind of popularized in current media, right? It's become like this marketable thing. But like the real nerds, like when they say things, it's kind of you feel kind of uncomfortable, right? Because they're just so socially awkward and they live in a whole another world. And again, like I consider myself a nerd and a geek, but I don't associate myself, like I do other things as well, like I listen to crazy music and do things like that. I'm attracted to kind of the nerd culture because it's just a hardcore lens to look at stuff, I think, really. But like these like old school gaming military nerds, like bro, they are a breed unto themselves. Like it literally takes decades to get to that level of gaming geekdom.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, video game company has a surprising obsession with World War II military history by. It even hurts to say this. Military.com.
Yo. Every time you say that, just replace the R with Poland strong.
With Poland strong. Wow. Hey, it worked. All right. So one thing we do in this cast is we bring out a question. So we go through our mail and we find a question that we can talk about. Jack, I'm going to ask you, where can people send us questions to?
At theboardstate@gmail.com.
Pow! All right. And the question today is, I know you both have mentioned you play video games and board games both. Do you think there could be a fusion between both as a gaming experience? I guess using a video game and board game together as a gaming experience. Do you think that's possible, Jack?
Yeah, I really think so, because as you saw with AR gaming and how they can be very much able to do so in
Hi. No, I was trying to see if I could find a game that. Oh yeah, go.
Okay, but just like how we saw in AR gaming and how that was just one of those things where you see ARG coming apart, and then also other things. Another good example, and I'm sure you have, Mr. V, is Iron Harvest. Because originally it started off as a ball game, and now it is becoming more. It is rejuvenizing the RTS genre, and So like those things are going to happen like that. But a game where it can be both board game and video game, I say yes, it's already here because Mr. V is obviously have that. You know what? You talk. I'll wait.
No. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry for distracting you, Jack. Please finish your thought. Sorry, I'll just throw this away. I missed this game, dude. Such a good game for 1 to 5 players as well.
It really is going to be a new norm, and well, you're gonna see more out of the box scenarios like that.
All
Okay.
right, so I've got an example here of such a thing. Fantasy Flight was doing a whole list of these, but their software team's been laid off or something like that, or they discontinued their software team. Well, I don't know if it's the Fantasy Flight software team that was doing like apps, or the Fantasy Flight team that was doing the game, the physical game with like a supported digital app. But anyway, this is something that Fantasy Flight has been doing for a while. Descent, the game Descent, the dungeon crawler, has like a mobile app to help with scenarios and things like that, and combat. What's that other one? Betrayal House on the Hill has like a accompanied app for the scenario. Is it Betrayal? Yeah, it's Betrayal. Betrayal has an app for that. And then Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle Earth. The entire game is digital. Well, the entire game meaning the scenario, the voices, how to track your stats. All that is handled in an app, but you physically play on these tiles and the board. And you can try your inventory. We should go through this. Such a good game. All right. But it's like a 30-hour game, and there's like an expansion for it already. There's a digital expansion and then a physical expansion for this as well. But this is a fantastic example of that, because it doesn't overwrite the game, but it's like an accompaniment to the game. So you play in a physical space, and yet there's kind of like a dungeon master that's a digital app that'll help curate and weave you through the gaming. This is what I'm doing with my hands. Landscape.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Oh, yes?
Well, I was also going to say, like, what's your thoughts on like games that transfer over from board game to video game and vice versa?
Yep.
For example,
Root. Root just came out with a digital version. Scythe also as well. Root, I played like 15 minutes of the tutorial. Really good. Like even the loading screen, you got like this band playing with like animals and stuff. But yeah. Root, if you don't know, it's like this blockbuster game. I'm talking to the listeners. Blockbuster game that came out, I think 2 years ago. About like these warring. Is it safe to say warring? But like this relationship between these different animals and a political structure in the woods. So it's kind of like a Game of Thrones kind of setting, but with like animals in the forest. It's a fantastic game. Won a bunch of awards. I think it was also one of. So there's this survey that went out, and I don't remember what the name of it is. There's a survey that went out that rated what people's top 10 games were. Root was like number 3 on that list of like most players rate Root like in that, this is kind of meta, in that top 10 list of games that are mentioned in people's top 10 list, Root was number 3 on that list as players' number 1 game. So yeah, it's an unreal game, and the digital version of it carries that really well. Okay. Yep. Okay, so that's gonna do it. Thank you all for listening again. Any closing words that doesn't have to do with Poland, Jack?
be pulling and strong, safe.
All right. Okay, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Aloha. Okay. So that's going to do that.